I'd like to now open the hearing on the final bill on our agenda today, Senate Bill 5629. And staff, if we can have a briefing, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Again, Greg Attanasio, committee staff. Before you is Senate Bill 5629 concerning coverage requirements for prosthetic limbs and custom orthotic braces, sponsored by Senator Harris. Some brief background: the Affordable Care Act requires coverage for rehabilitative and habilitative services and devices as an essential health benefit. These services and devices are used to gain or recover mental or physical skills for people with injuries, disabilities, or chronic conditions. Medicare provides coverage for durable medical equipment, including prosthetics and orthotics, for people with limb loss or limb difference. Generally, Medicare enrollees pay 20% of the Medicare approved amount, and for the device, and Medicare would cover the rest. So under the bill before you, beginning January 1st, 2026, health plans, including those plans offered to public employees, must provide coverage for one or more prostheses per limb and custom orthotic brace per limb when medically necessary for the enrollee to participate in activities of daily living and perform physical activities. Coverage includes replacement or repair of the device or any part if medically necessary. A health plan may not deny coverage for a prosthetic limb or custom orthotic brace for an enrollee with a disability if healthcare services would be covered for a non-disabled person seeking medical or surgical intervention to restore or maintain the ability to perform the same physical activity. A health plan may apply normal utilization management practices for this coverage. However, a denial of coverage must be issued in writing with an explanation for determining that the coverage was not medically necessary. A health plan must provide payment for coverage that is at least equal to the payment and coverage provided by Medicare. And finally, carriers must report to the Office of the Insurance Commissioner for the first 2 years of claims and payments made under this act, and OIC must issue a report based on that data. Fiscal note has been requested but not yet received, so happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Greg, for the briefing. Are there any questions of staff on this bill? That was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Thank you. Don't see any questions. Senator Harris, as the prime sponsor of the bill, would you like to speak to your bill today?
Actually, this one, no. So thank you. And you're going to hear a lot of testimony from a lot of more people. You can hear from me anytime, Senator, so just come down to my beautiful office and we'll chat. But we have people here that are going to testify, and I really do thank you for listening to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you for bringing it forward. With that, we have a lot of folks signed into testimony. We're going to go quickly. And Madam Vice Chair, if we could call forward the first to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first panel will be Nicole Ver-Kiemlin and Ashley Cavello. Then it'll be followed by Hannah Vankara and Glenn Barfield.
Thank you very much. We'll let you get settled there. And then who'd like to begin this morning?
Hello, Chair Cleveland and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Verkeilen, and I live in Vancouver. When I was 10, I lost my leg to bone cancer. Shortly after, my family and I were shocked to realize my prosthesis wasn't waterproof and wasn't meant for physical activity. But this was all insurance would pay for. Anything additional was considered not medically necessary. My family didn't have $10,000 to pay for another leg, and so I went without. My dad tried to ensure I still had a childhood. He would wrap my prosthesis in trash bags and duct tape so that I could play in the water, but I was self-conscious and grew to fear getting it wet. As I got older, I pursued sports to connect with my peers and manage stress, but eventually it put me in PT from intense back pain, and I ended up breaking my prosthetic foot every 6 months. Expenses my insurance was happy to pay for instead of the appropriate prosthesis. 16 years later, I'd finally had enough, so I did a 1,500-mile triathlon from Seattle to San Diego, all on my walking prosthesis to raise awareness, a journey I called Forest Stump. At the end, I got noticed by a charity and received my first ever running blade. Since receiving my blade, my insurance has not had to pay for a new foot in over 7 years. More importantly, I can run without pain. And last year, I'm honored to say I ran the Boston Marathon. No one should ever have to go to these lengths or wait this long to get access to health care in Washington. Thank you to Senator Harris for bringing this forward. Please vote yes for SB 5629.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Congratulations on the marathon. That's phenomenal. Go right ahead. Hello.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Cleveland and the rest of the Healthcare Committee. My name is Ashley Carvalho, and I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm a licensed and board-certified prosthetist-orthotist at Harborview Medical Center. My job is to work with people with limb loss, limb difference, and mobility challenges to evaluate, design, and fit custom prosthetic and orthotic devices. There often comes a point in the rehabilitation process when patient goals turn from everyday tasks like walking or self-care to activities like playing catch with their kids, rejoining their local softball team, or going for a hike with their dog. Unfortunately for many, these goals are out of reach because of the out-of-pocket costs associated with the appropriate activity-specific devices are prohibitive. When one of my patients expresses interest in returning to physical activity, we often have a discussion about compromises. To do things that the rest of us take for granted, my patients have had to resort to measures like crowdfunding and applying for grants, or risk overuse injury and being without an everyday device if it breaks in order to live active lifestyles. This bill is an important step towards ensuring that Washingtonians with disabilities don't have to compromise in ways that their non-disabled peers do not in order to maintain their overall health. Other states like Colorado, Minnesota, and New Mexico have already passed similar bills, recognizing that the care we're discussing today is not experimental, is not a luxury, and has already shown important benefits to the disability community. Thank you for your time, and a special thank you to our primary sponsor, Senator Harris.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony, and go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. My name is Hannah Vankara. I'm an emergency registered nurse and an amputee from Spokane, here to express my strong support of Bill 5629. I lost my leg when I was a year old due to a birth defect. I learned to walk on a prosthetic, and because of it, I thrive in one of the most strenuous roles in the medical field as an ER nurse. My job requires me to be physically fit so I can care for others who can't care for themselves. My prosthetic is not only necessary for my career, but it's allowed me to live a really active life. I summit our mountain peaks, run Spartan races, and exceed the current military fitness requirements in order to one day serve my country. I operate with titanium and carbon as anyone would with muscle and bone. It's part of me, but not in the eyes of insurance companies. There are thousands like me who pay extra for a device that allows us to remain active. My leg costs over $20,000 just so I can walk, work, and hike. It's not an accessory, it's a necessity. We often take for granted our ability, but I know many physically disabled people that live more active lives than some able-bodied Americans. We shouldn't have to pay for that privilege when others do not. By creating insurance coverage for the devices I need, along with our fellow Washingtonians here, we are enhancing the quality of life by preventing continued lifetime complications, physically, mentally, and financially. I urge the committee members to vote in favor so that everyone, regardless of their physical challenges, can access the medical care they need to live healthy lives. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Vankara. Appreciate each one of you coming before us today. Madam Vice Chair, if you could call forward the next to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Testifying remote is Megan Gleason, Carolyn Heislop, and then in person will be Delika Steele and Serena Landholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and we'll turn our attention to the screen. Megan Gleason, you are next. Welcome. Go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. Chair Cleveland and honorable members of the committee. I'm Megan Gleason from Bainbridge Island, here today asking for your support of this bill. I have cerebral palsy, which is a neurological condition with a wide range of severity that affects movement and muscle control. For most of my life, staying active has been a challenge. I played soccer until age 12 when I could no longer keep up. In college, I participated in outdoor trips until a hip injury left me in severe pain for weeks. Today, I'm fortunate to have a custom orthotic device called a dynamic ankle-foot orthosis, or AFO. This device has helped normalize my gait, relieving muscle pain, and provided me with the power and stability to safely stay active. In fact, it's made such a positive impact in my overall fitness that I've decided to pursue indoor climbing as a sport and will be competing in the Paraclimbing National Championships next month, which is something I could never have imagined growing up. Unfortunately, though, my AFO will need to be replaced in the next 2 to 3 years. Since it's not covered by insurance, this will cost me nearly $11,000. I've been carefully saving up for this, but I strongly believe that access to medically necessary equipment shouldn't depend on having enough private funds at your disposal. I ask that you support this bill so people like me can access the tools that they need to stay active and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gleason. Thank you for your testimony today. We'll turn to Carolyn Heislop. If you can hear me, go right ahead.
Madam Chair, Carolyn is not online.
Okay, and you'll let us know if she does join. Excellent. We'll move on then to our in-person panel. Dalika Steele, go right ahead. Hello and welcome.
Hello. For the record, Dalika Steele, Office of the Insurance Commissioner, testifying other on Senate Bill 5629 as one of the agencies that would administer a portion of this bill. Our office has had the opportunity to review and provide technical feedback on this bill, most of which was integrated into the bill as introduced. As a reminder, under the Affordable Care Act, non-grandfathered individual and small group health plans are required to cover essential health benefits, or EHB, as detailed in each state's EHB benchmark plan. If a state requires coverage of a benefit that goes beyond the state's selected EHB, the benefit is considered a new mandate and the state must defray the cost. Currently, prosthetic and orthotic devices are covered under Washington's EHB benchmark plan. However, the bill requires all health plans to cover one or more prosthetic or orthotic device per limb. This likely goes beyond Washington's benchmark plan, what Washington's benchmark plan requires. As a result, this would likely be considered a new mandate, and the state would be required to defray the costs for the individual health plans sold on the health benefit exchange. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. Senator Slatter has a question.
Thank you so much for that explanation. How much would that be? I mean, how many cases are we looking at where you'd have to defray that cost and or adjust this?
So I'm not sure off the top of my head how much it would cost for Washington State, but other states have done actuarial analysis on this benefit. And for example, in Minnesota, they estimated it would cost 39 cents per member per month.
Thank you. If there's any data that you could provide, please send that.
Yes, I can definitely send that.
Right, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any additional questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to Sierra Landholm. Hello. Glad to have you with us. Go right ahead when you get settled.
Good afternoon, Chair Cleveland and members of the committee. My name is Sierra Landholm. I am from Port Orchard. I am here today asking for your support of this bill. I am Washington grown and currently a paralegal in the Criminal Justice Division of the Washington State Attorney General's Office. I am a congenital right hip dysarthric, which essentially means I was born missing my right leg. Due to insurance limitations, I have only ever had one prosthetic leg at a time. Sports have been an integral part of my life. As a kid, I spent many hours on soccer fields and basketball courts just with my everyday prosthesis. Due to the limitations of an everyday leg, I was forced to switch to a sport that didn't require a prosthesis and swam competitively for 10 years. Having only ever been denied affordable access to another prosthesis, I have suffered many broken prosthetic parts, uncomfortable days of training, and times when it was safer to be legless and on crutches than with my prosthesis on. As I am almost 30 years old, I have never had the opportunity to run with a running blade, lift weights safely with a proper prosthetic knee, or have the benefit of trying things my everyday leg cannot do. I have spent many hours in CrossFit gyms across the South Sound, and I am in the top 10 fittest, lower impairment above the knee athletes in the world. It is crucial that this bill be passed to allow myself and others the chance to live the life we want. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You're all making me tired with your ambitions. You're all champions. Madam Vice Chair, if you could call forward the next to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next panel is Ashley Carvanho, Cody McDonald, and Shane Solomon.
And I believe Ashley already testified. Yes, Ashley. Oh. Thank you for that. So Cody McDonald and Shane Solomon, come on up. We're pleased to have you with us today. Just feel free to take a seat and get settled, and we'll go right ahead.
Chair Cleveland and the committee, I'm Dr. Cody McDonald from Seattle, Washington. I'm here to testify in support of Measure SB 5629 as a Washington State licensed prosthetist, orthotist, and a health equity researcher. In 2023, my colleagues and I conducted a national study examining the prevalence of secondary prosthesis use, including activity-specific devices. With data from over 1,500 Americans, we found that only 13.5% of lower limb prosthesis users had an activity-specific prosthesis, such as those needed for physical activity and recreation. That means that more than 85% of lower limb prosthesis users don't have the equipment they need to engage in sport or physical activity safely. Furthermore, the individuals who did have a secondary prosthesis tended to be men who were younger, white, employed, and highly educated. In other words, only those with the most privilege and the greatest financial resources were capable of obtaining these devices. The most vulnerable people in our community, those who are already marginalized in a myriad of ways, are the least likely to have access to the devices they need to support their own health. Supporting SB 5629 will put us one step closer to making sure everyone can access the exercise and physical recreation they need to keep their bodies healthy and avoid preventable and costly health conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. And Senator Christian does have a question.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald and Chair. Did your study ask the question how many people wanted or a next sports?
We did not. Our study was actually a secondary analysis of data collected as part of a larger study, and so we didn't have that opportunity to ask those sorts of questions, unfortunately.
Great, thank you for that. And Shane Solomon, go right ahead.
I'm going to try and keep it together here. So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Shane Solomon from Ellensburg, Washington. I'm here speaking on behalf of my son, Weston. Weston was born with infantile fibrosarcoma, started chemo at 10 days old, had a right knee disarticulation at 4 months old, and received his first prosthesis at 1 year. As a veteran, I saw the technology that was available to service members after their limb loss injuries, so I never imagined that my child born in 2015 wouldn't have access to everything he needed to live a full life. Weston's constantly missing out on school, sports, and time with friends when his leg breaks down because he only has one. He has a 504 at school for a special chair because his one prosthesis he has allows him to play the hardest, but is also very uncomfortable at a desk, in a car, at movies, at a Mariners game, and even at home. I watch Weston sacrifice comfort on a daily basis to simply keep up. This bill is not about luxury, it's about basic mobility and function. It's about Weston and everyone like him not having to choose between performance and comfort. It's 2025, not 1925. We have the technology, systems, and infrastructure in place. This committee holds the power to change people's lives today. My hope is that Weston grows up. As he grows up, he isn't continually met with barriers to enjoying life, like a microprocessor knee that could improve long-term bone and joint health, but is labeled as experimental and often denied by insurance in this state. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I strongly urge you to end this era of forcing people to choose between function and comfort. They deserve both. Set the standard, uphold the standard, and give Senate Bill 5629 your full support.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
time.
you being here. And Weston, we're glad to have you here today, too. Was it fun to be up in front of us? Did you get to miss school? Yes. Well, thank you for being with us. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you all.
And with that, Madam Vice Chair, if we could call forward the next to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next panel is Jen Moore and Dylan Moore, and then it will be followed by Addie Yake, Logan Powell, and Vala Hallgrimson.
Great. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And who would like to begin?
I'll begin, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Dylan from Bellingham, and I'm here to testify in support of SB 5629
Dylan,
because...
if you could state your full name for us,
Oh,
please.
Dylan Maurer. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm an amputee who will be directly affected by this legislation. Prosthetics are very impressive nowadays. In fact, I have a prosthetic designed specifically for riding a bicycle, and I'm wearing that prosthetic right now. Why a cycling prosthetic while walking around? Well, it's because I had to choose. Walk, run, ride, climb, or swim. Not all of the above. Choose one. Maybe if you're lucky, your insurance will let you choose another one in 5 years. What a terrible choice. As a former professional cyclist, getting back on a bike after losing my foot was extremely important to me, which is why I told my insurance to get me this device. While great for pedaling, it's not designed for walking. So simply going for a walk around the Capitol is a strenuous task. Similarly, a prosthetic designed to be perfect for walking on even ground won't perform as well during a run, bike ride, or any other sport for that matter. Under our current healthcare system, disabled folks have to choose. While prosthetics are truly astounding tools that can let folks get out and recreate, they don't come close to the versatility of a human ankle. So for now, folks like me have to make a choice that what they want most out of their one prosthetic. I don't want any person to have to make that kind of choice again. In short, I want insurance companies to stop keeping me from the joys I used to love. I should not have to turn to charities to ask for other prosthetics that allow me to fulfill my activities of daily living. Health insurance is supposed to be there to provide us with health care, not deny us an active life. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Maurer. Thank you for your testimony. And Jen Maurer, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee. My name is Jen Maurer, and I live in Bellingham, Washington with my husband, Dylan. I'm here today in support of this bill because as the wife of an amputee, every day is affected by my husband's mobility. When he lost his left leg below the knee, our lives and our marriage changed completely. We were thrust without consent into the world of doctors, hospitals, and navigating health insurance. His initial hospital stay cost more than I make in 2 years of working full-time, but that was only the beginning of what will be a lifetime of medical bills. While he healed, I researched ways to support him. I was horrified to read statistics like nearly 1 in 3 amputees attempt suicide, or that his life expectancy is now 15 years shorter than the, quote, average person. I learned something I already knew about him. He needed to stay active to stay alive. When we met 7 years ago, we bonded over a mutual love of the outdoors and spent our free time hiking and cycling. That stopped after his accident. Initially, the pause was due to pain and physically healing, but now the only thing holding him back is access to the specialized medical devices necessary to get back outdoors. To this day, he's not been able to take our dogs for a walk, and every day I experience the bittersweet joy of walking amongst the trees on a trail only a mile from our house, which he's tried and failed to walk to. For a couple in our late 20s, it was heartbreaking to imagine our greatest adventures were already behind us. I still love hiking, I still love riding my bike, and I wish I could share those activities with the person I chose to share my life with. Expanding insurance coverage to provide prosthetics for physical activity would give my family a part of our life back and give my husband the key to returning to the active community he was a member of for most of his life. Thank you for your time, and I ask that you support Bill 5629.
Thank you, Ms. Maurer. Appreciate your testimony very much. And with that, Madam Vice Chair, if you could call forward the next to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In person is Addie Yake, Logan Powell, and Vala Hallgrimson. And also we want to invite up next Glenn Barfield.
All right, I know we have limited chairs, so we'll take this one at a time here. So Addie Yake, we'll begin with you, and we'll let you get all settled there, and then you just go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Addie Yake from Bellingham, Washington, and I'm asking for your support on this bill. Do you your name?
Oren.
That was really good. This is my son, Oren, self-described as really silly and super fast. He's an above-knee amputee. Oren received his first prosthetic leg for his first birthday. It's been such a magical gift. Oren, how old are you now? Oren's 3, and when he plays with his friends, it's very clear his prosthetic leg is made for walking. We're reminded of this every single day. How many 3-year-olds do you know that prefer to walk? One day I have to find a way to explain to Oren that an insurance company has a right to say he's not as deserving to run or swim as his friend right next to him, as his own little sister. That in order to do these activities, he has to either be financially privileged or beg for charity. So today, I call on our leaders to please spare me from having this conversation. Let our conversation instead be about an unfair history that once was, and one that he can be proud to say he helped to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yake. And Oren, we're glad to have you with us.
Oren and
Thank you to you both. And let's see, Logan Powell, would you like to go next?
Sure. Chair Cleveland and honorable members of the committee, I'm Logan Powell. I'm 18 years old from Seattle. I'm here today asking for support in the bill. Growing up, I had a very normal childhood. My leg was never an issue for me. I was able to do everything else that all the other kids did. That was because I had friends and family who could provide me running blades and other necessary equipment to keep up with my peers. I played almost every sport there is. In high school, I was a 3-sport athlete. I played football, I wrestled, and I competed in track. Some accolades of which I have achieved are 1-year varsity leader in football, 2 years leader and team captain in wrestling, 4-year varsity leader, team captain, 5-time state champion, 2-time All-American in track. I was able to get 3 college offers for track coming out of high school, and this would not have been possible if it wasn't for my athletic leg. I was born with a rare condition that left me without a tibia. and I've been an amputee my whole life. However, my athletic life did not start until I was 8 years old, when I was given the best gift I've ever received, which was my first running leg. So many people in this country and within my community have to go without the basic right to a true childhood and a healthy lifestyle due to the lack of help and coverage for these athletic prosthetics. Hope that one day every person who may appear different doesn't have to feel or play different because they're given the basic right to move. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Very grateful. And Vala Hagrinson, good morning. Or it's afternoon now. Good afternoon.
It is. Good afternoon. Madam Chair and members, my name is Vala Hallgrimson. I am here to ask you to vote yes on SB 5629. I live in Linwood, Washington. I'm 72 years old and a retired Washington State employee. In 2018, I got sepsis and spent a year in the hospital and rehab facility. I am what is called a quad amputee. I am a left below the knee, a right partial foot, my left fingers, and right fingers and a thumb. Before this happened, I was very active. I did water exercise, swam, snorkeled, kayaked, played tennis, danced, water skied, hiked, ice skated, rode horses, and chased grandchildren. I am fortunate to have good insurance. Even with that, I am not able to get any kind of leg other than a walking leg. My walking leg cannot go in the salt water, as that would cause rust and breakage because of metal screws. That would also put me in a wheelchair while my leg and liner dried. I paid $2,000 for a water leg several years ago so I could get in and out of my kayak. I faced death during my journey of becoming an amputee. I have a second chance in life and want to live my life to the fullest and be mobile and productive. Without mobility, you can have depression, diabetes, obesity, and heart issues, which in the end would cost insurance companies more. I urge you to vote in favor of SB 5629. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I want to make sure we don't have any questions. And seeing none, great to have you here with us today. And Madam Vice Chair, did we call Glenn Barfield? There, been waiting so patiently, Mr. Barfield. Thank you. Give you a moment to get settled, and then you begin when you're ready.
Can you hear me okay? Great. Thanks for this opportunity. So yeah, I'm Glenn Barfield, 33 years an amputee, a host of Amputee Outdoors, and I live in Sammamish. And you're going to kind of detect a theme here. Most folks take for granted their toes, their heels, their ankles, their shins, their knees. You take for granted that here in Washington, you hike up the Cascades to a mountain lake, take off your shoes, your socks, and go for a swim, walk on out of that lake, hike back down to the trailhead, get home, walk into the shower, get dressed, cleaned up, and go out dancing for the night. Great times. At no time do you ever think to yourself, do I need to change my foot to do this? You just do it. You don't think about it. You just do it. Okay? For us amputees, we have to think about that. We have to think about, can my foot do this? No, it can't. This is something I will not be able to do. I will sit here and watch my friends go do this thing I cannot do. Okay? That is what this bill is all about. 5629 gives us the opportunity to get a second leg that can do more. The thing with prosthetics, that can do one or two things really well, but just those one or two things. A second leg gives you two more things possibly to do. It expands your life closer to the world that most people take for granted. And that's what we're looking for, to try to get to where most people already are. So 5629, please support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barfield. Appreciate your testimony and do not see any questions. Madam Vice Chair, if we could conclude testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had 69 sign-in pro, 6 con, and 2 other.
Great. Well, this then concludes testimony and closes the hearing on Senate Bill 5629. Thank you, everyone. And with that, there's no further business for the committee today. Move that committee be adjourned.